Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest on the Privileges Committee investigation into Boris Johnson's lies in Parliament, in which it seems he will be required to give evidence under oath. This puts him in jeopardy of prison if he tries his usual tricks. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So we'll leave news of the potential Tory leadership contenders for a day or two, but we're going to stay on the current Tory leader. And I thought the mainstream media were a bit surreal yesterday, because I kept seeing loads of articles suddenly appearing saying, oh, Boris Johnson may face a by-election this autumn. And I thought, no kidding. These same so-called political reporters who were happily talking about Johnson's plans to remain as a backbench MP after he steps down as Prime Minister. And I said, he's not going to have the option, is he? If the Privileges Committee finds him guilty and the investigation is still going on and getting more serious, then the inevitable chain of events is that he'll lose his status as an MP. I even did a video last Saturday entitled, Has Boris Johnson Forgotten Something? I might as well have entitled it, Have the Media Forgotten Something? The way they were all talking about these plans to cause trouble for his successors from the backbenchers. So what suddenly got these so-called political experts all thinking about Johnson having to face a by-election all of a sudden? It's the news that the Privileges Committee wants Johnson to be under oath when he appears before them to answer questions. Now, this is very serious. Parliamentary select committees have the power to make people give evidence under oath, but it doesn't happen all that often. It does now and then, but it's not that often. It's not routinely used like it would be in a court of law. And because it doesn't happen all that often, you can surmise that when they do insist upon it, there must be a very good reason. You know, if we want to be charitable, we may imagine that what the committee's doing is they're doing this so that the public can be assured that the process is being done properly. After all, the subject of their investigation is being investigated for deliberately lying. It might seem odd to some people, therefore, that you wouldn't get him to appear under oath. In fact, I talked about this very prospect in a video on May the 5th earlier this year. But it could be that they're wanting Johnson to appear under oath because the evidence is so strong that he would otherwise lie to them, you know, like he lies all the time. And just to be clear, although a parliamentary committee hearing is not a court of law, lying under oath carries the same legal weight of perjury. If anyone giving evidence to a select committee of Parliament under oath lies to them and is caught out in the lie, they can be prosecuted and imprisoned under exactly the same law as if they did it in a court. And if you think that posh Tories don't go to prison for perjury, they do. There have actually been quite a few cases, but two big names from some years ago were Jonathan Aitken and Jeffrey Archer. Now, I know some people think, well, times have changed, but this is going to be a very public show. If he gives evidence under oath and he's caught out in a clear lie, there will be a public expectation of a prosecution. It'll look like a complete stitch-up if he doesn't face one. Remember that the Tories could have just blocked this investigation. They didn't because it would have been very damaging for their reputation to do so. I suspect the same applies to blocking a suspension from Parliament if he's found guilty. I don't think Tory MPs will do this because that would be even more damaging. There are likely to be further revelations coming out. Unlike the Sue Gray and the Met Police investigations, this one is likely to be thorough. Also remember that all three of these investigations were for very different things. Sue Gray was investigating standards of professional behaviour. The police were investigating breaches of the law. The Privileges Committee is investigating the possibility that Boris Johnson deliberately misled Parliament on 4 specific occasions. So although the investigations are all related to Partygate, and it sounds like they've all got a very different focus, they're different investigations, that means that evidence that is useful to one investigation may not be to others. In other words, I expect new information to come to light. I expect evidence that maybe wasn't useful for Sue Gray or the police to be useful for the Select Committee, and then we get to see it. So what will Johnson do? Well, the first thing to point out is if he's under oath and giving evidence, I do not expect him to lie as freely as he normally does. He'll get lawyers to advise him very carefully. He is an habitual liar, but he doesn't put himself to legal hazards. Consider the Benn Act in 2019. This compelled him to seek an extension to the Article 50 Brexit process if we hadn't left with a deal, to stop us crashing out of the EU without a deal. Johnson said he'd refuse to comply. I'm not going to do it. No more extensions, blah, 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 blah. I'll be dead in a ditch. All that nonsense. But due to various legal challenges taking place at the time, if Johnson had actually refused, he'd have been in danger of being imprisoned for contempt of court. Johnson complied with the act. For all of his bravado, he complied with it. He did it in the most childish way imaginable, but he did it. When it came to it, he wasn't going to risk serious legal consequences. And these consequences would be way worse. So what is he to do? Well, because this is basically unprecedented, and because I'm not an expert and have not seen an expert discussing this specific point, I would venture that Boris Johnson may just not turn up. I don't think he could survive the examination without either lying or admitting his guilt. I am prepared to be impressed by his lawyers if they can come up with something stunning, but I'm not sure I see it. I'm not saying he won't lie at all. He may risk a lie that his lawyers think will be very difficult to prove, but he won't be able to lie as freely as he normally does. He won't be able to argue black is white. I would just think the safest option is not to attend at all. Come up with some rubbish about it, you know, the typical Donald Trump thing. Oh, political witch hunt. I'm too busy playing Prime Minister to attend this nonsense. So then the question is, can he be forced to attend? I don't know for certain, but I'm not sure he can. Boris Johnson's cabinet colleagues routinely refuse to attend select committee hearings. 3 have done that in the last week alone. The committees get very upset about it. It's disgraceful. It is a contempt of Parliament issue, but nothing's done. The only process to deal with it is an actual contempt of Parliament vote. But Tory MPs would just vote those motions down, so there's no point. That's why they don't happen. In theory, if the Privileges Committee wanted to compel Johnson to attend, they could try the same routes. It'd have to be in September now when Parliament reconvenes. They could do the same. I suppose it's possible that Tory MPs wouldn't vote against that motion if the public are paying close attention. But that would require the mainstream media to pay close attention. And a lot of the mainstream media is on Boris Johnson's side. If Johnson were to face a contempt of Parliament motion and it were to pass, then maybe he could be compelled. Apart from anything else, the Sergeant at Arms could be instructed to arrest him and bring him before the committee. That would be a sight. He could only avoid that by never setting foot in Parliament again. But it is very messy, and as you can see, I don't know exactly what would happen, only what some of the possibilities are. But I can absolutely see Johnson avoiding attending altogether. I mean, look at his options. Option 1, try and brazen his way through and potentially be imprisoned for perjury. I don't think that'll sound appealing to him. Second, don't tell lies where there's a serious risk of being caught out, in which case he'll come across very badly in the hearing. I don't think he wants that option. Third, don't attend at all. The committee is still likely to find him guilty with or without his attendance after all. The third one just seems to be the safest. Yes, it'll look bad, but he looks bad anyway. You know, he will have top lawyers working for him. I'm going to guess he'll even have us paying for them as some official government business somehow. They'll advise him of the peril he's in. I'm not a legal expert, but if he looks guilty anyway, and there's no way any testimony from him could make the situation anything other than worse, why not advise him just to avoid giving evidence at all? It's a bit like Steve Bannon, you know, at the moment in America. He's not giving evidence in his trial, is he? He's been advised, look, if you open your mouth, you're making it worse. Just don't open your mouth. I suspect Boris Johnson will try and do the same thing here. That is how I read it. But either way, he's not just stepping down as PM. He'll be leaving as an MP as well. I reckon he'll voluntarily resign. None of this even trying to stay on. What if he doesn't? He'll be facing a humiliating recall petition and by-election loss. He'll not be causing trouble from the backbenchers. He will be causing trouble for his successor, but from the back columns. He'll take on work for the media again and undermine his successor from there. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships, and until next time, I'll see you later.